I honestly thought I had seen everything when it came to bad dates, but Sophie proved me wrong in less than 30 seconds. Literally 30 seconds. I met her outside this fancy shopping center because she said we should meet somewhere public. I thought she wanted to grab food or walk around first before deciding where to go. Nope. She had a plan the second I showed up, and it had nothing to do with getting to know me. She waved at me like she was already bored and looked me up and down like she was checking if I was worth her time. I said hey, and she didn't even say it back. She pointed at the entrance of a designer store like that was where the date was happening. I stood there confused, waiting for a normal conversation to begin, but she just said we were going inside because she needed to feel appreciated. Her exact words. I followed her because I didn't want to look awkward, and honestly, part of me thought she was joking, like maybe she wanted to look around or something. But she knew exactly where she wanted to go. Straight to the jewelry section. She walked right up to a glass case and stared at a necklace like she found hidden treasure. Then she turned to me and said I should buy it for her before we even sit down to talk. I waited for the punchline. She wasn't joking. She said she never sits down with a guy unless he shows he can treat her right. She said every guy does it. My mouth literally fell open. I told her I didn't plan to buy anything tonight, and she rolled her eyes so hard I thought they would get stuck. She said she wasn't impressed with men who think they can take her out and put zero effort into her happiness. I said buying expensive things isn't effort, it's just spending. She shrugged like she didn't care what I thought. She tapped the glass and told the employee she wanted to try it on. I stood behind her thinking how quickly I could leave without being rude, but she turned around and asked what I was waiting for. She said she wasn't moving until I paid. I told her I didn't even know her favorite color yet. I said maybe we could sit down first and just talk. She crossed her arms and said that's exactly what losers say. She said if I had any confidence I would buy it, and then she would reward me with her presence. She used those words. Reward me. Like she thought she was a new console everyone wanted to buy. The employee stood there holding the necklace waiting for me to say something. I told him we were not buying it, and he awkwardly placed it back in the case. Sophie scoffed loud enough for the whole store to hear. She said she could guys buy her things way more expensive than that before she even gave them her real number. I told her good for them because I wasn't one of them. She huffed and walked to another store in the same building. I followed because I still felt stuck in the middle of some weird challenge. She dragged me into a perfume shop and picked up a bottle that probably cost more than my rent. She waved it under my nose and said if I cared, I would buy things that make her feel special. I said talking should come first. She said talking doesn't prove anything. She said gifts prove intent. I told her we hadn't sat down once since we met and I needed a minute to breathe. She said fine, but only after I buy her something small. She picked up a perfume roller the size of my thumb and said this one is cheap. She scanned the price, and it was still over $200. She shoved it into my hand like she expected me to walk straight to the counter. I put it back and said no. She stared at me with pure disgust, like I kicked her dog or something. She said I wasted her time, and she could be with someone generous instead. I told her I never agreed to buying anything, and she said that means I lied because she assumed I would. She started pacing like she couldn't believe what was happening. I tried to leave, but she followed me out of the shop ranting loudly about me being broke. People stared, and it got even worse when she stood directly in front of me, blocking the exit. She said if I wanted her to stay, I had one last chance to fix this. She pointed to a shoe store. She said a pair of heels would be the bare minimum if I was serious about her. I told her I wasn't serious about her at all. She gasped like I'd insulted a queen. She said I must be used to dating girls who accept cheap things like dinner. She said she required effort. She said she deserved luxury because her time was valuable. I told her my time was valuable too, and she laughed like that was the funniest thing she had ever heard. She told me to go home then and next time bring a bigger wallet if I wanted to date a real woman. I said goodbye and walked out of the building hoping she wouldn't chase me. She didn't, but she yelled after me that she was blocking me. I said thank you honestly. She called me boring and said I would die alone with no one to spoil. Then she walked back inside like she didn't just embarrass herself in front of half the mall. When I got home later, I checked my phone. She had already unmatched me. No surprise there. I sat in my bed laughing because she really thought she was some celebrity who everyone should worship. She thought spending money equals love. And the craziest part is, she said every guy does it. Which means she found guys out there who actually pay for her nonsense. Guys who probably left with empty wallets and no dignity. I think about how fast she showed her true self. Before I even said a single fact about me, She demanded I prove something I didn't even claim. She thought I owed her just for showing up, but she was doing me a favor by letting me stand near her. Now when I match with anyone, I scroll through every picture looking for signs, expensive bags in every photo, caption about high standards, all that stuff. I need to make sure I never get pulled into that kind of date again, because sitting across from someone who sees you as a cash machine isn't a date. It's a robbery without a mask. I swear this was the fastest a date ever went from kind of normal to what is wrong with this planet. It all started when I matched with this girl called Emily. Her profile was simple. Just a few pictures of her smiling in different outfits and one picture of her holding a smoothie. Her bio said she liked routines and honesty. I thought, cool, that sounds healthy. I didn't know she meant routines like legally binding routines. We agreed to meet at a bowling alley because she said she liked active dates. I actually thought that was fun. I got there a bit early and waited by the entrance. She walked in exactly when she said she would. Not 1 second late. She wore this super neat outfit, like everything matched perfectly from her shoes to her nails. She didn't even need to check her phone to find me. She looked around once and walked straight up like she already memorized my face. She didn't hug me or anything. She just said hey and led the way to an empty table. No small talk about the place or our day. She sat down across from me and pulled out this folder. A whole folder. Before I could even ask what was in it, she said she needed to go over some rules. She said she takes relationships serious, and she only dates men who sign a relationship contract on the first night. I sat there thinking she was joking. She didn't laugh. She didn't even blink. I tried to lighten the mood and asked if it was like one of those funny TikTok things. She said no. This was real. She said too many men waste time and play around. She said she needed commitment from the start. She opened the folder and took out several sheets of paper that looked like something a lawyer would write. I thought in my head that maybe I should run, but my body just sat there frozen like I was in some prank show. She handed me a pen and told me to look through the pages. I pretended to skim, but I was actually staring at the words, trying not to laugh. It had rules that I must text her good morning every single day before 10 a.m. I must spend at least 3 days a week with her. I must send a picture whenever she asks so she knows where I am. I must go to bed before midnight on weekdays unless I get permission from her. I must not follow any girls online unless she approves them first. There were more, way more. It felt like she wanted to own me like a pet. I asked what happens if I don't sign. She said then we can leave now because she doesn't date without order. She said dating is a contract. It needs structure. She said she doesn't waste time on men who think they can do whatever they want. I didn't know what to say, so I told her it was a lot to process. She nodded like she had heard that before, but she didn't look bothered. She said she dated 3 guys before who signed, and they all failed to follow the rules properly. She said she had to break things up with them herself because they proved they couldn't handle responsibility. The way she said it made it sound like she was proud of that, like she graded them and they got kicked out of her class. I asked why she wanted to bowl then if this was so serious. She said it was to see how competitive I was. She said she liked men who try their hardest but don't show off. She said she needed to measure my behavior before she finalized anything. I sat there thinking how she went from no hello to contract boss in less than 5 minutes. We actually played 1 game of bowling. I tried to act normal, but she kept taking notes on her phone after every turn like she was grading my performance. If I missed a pin, she wrote something. If I hit a strike, she wrote something. She didn't cheer or smile or trash talk. She just studied me like a science test. Every time her phone buzzed, she checked it instantly. She told me organization is the most important part of any partnership. She said trust comes from control. I didn't even respond to that one. I just threw the ball and hoped the time would pass quicker. The longer we stayed, the more I could feel myself being observed. Like she wanted me to slip up and put it in the contract as a new rule. After the game, she said we should go sit again. She laid the papers out like she expected me to sign right then. I said I don't think signing something on the first date makes any sense. She stared at me like I was broken. She said that is exactly why she has a contract. She said men only stay loyal when things are written down. She asked me again to sign so we could move forward. I told her I don't do legal stuff with strangers. She leaned back and tapped her nails on the folder. She said she guessed she misjudged me. She said she thought maybe I would be different. She packed the papers up so fast like she had trained for that moment. She said she wasn't interested anymore and stood up like she was excusing herself from a boring meeting. She told me to enjoy the rest of my night and walked straight out of the bowling alley without waiting for me to say anything. I watched her leave and everyone around looked confused because she left like she was fired. I sat there with my drink and tried to understand what just happened. I came to bowl with a girl and left after being told I failed a relationship exam I didn't know I was taking. On my way home, I kept replaying it all. I kept thinking about those other guys who signed. Did they follow the rules until she caught them breaking something tiny? Did she track every step they took? Did they get messages if they stayed out too long? Did she call them and ask why they were still awake at 12:01 a.m.? I shivered just thinking about it. When I got home, she had already unmatched me. Like I was never even a candidate. I bet she wrote a whole paragraph in her notes app about why I failed and what she will change in the next version of her contract. I bet she will do the same thing again and again until she finds someone who signs and blindly follows everything she says. Now, when I go by, I double check that the person I meet isn't carrying a folder full of rules. I laugh about it sometimes because who does that? But then I think about how serious she was and how normal she looked, and I know she will find someone eventually who signs without asking questions. I always thought the worst part of dating was deciding what to wear or waiting for someone to reply. I never guessed the worst part would be someone trying to turn me into their doctor just so they didn't have to pay for a drink. Joshua was that guy. He seemed calm when we were texting. He read books and had a cat he liked posting about. Nothing about him screamed disaster. I thought this would be a chill night out and maybe something normal for once. Instead, it turned into something I still can't explain without getting annoyed. We planned to meet at this restaurant that wasn't fancy, but also wasn't cheap like a cafeteria. He suggested it, and I said yes because it looked fine from the pictures. When I got there, the place was dim with these orange lights that made everyone look like they had perfect skin. People were chatting and laughing. It felt like the kind of place where you could sit for hours and not feel judged. I got a table by the wall and waited. He arrived late. He didn't run in or apologize like someone who cared. He walked in slowly like he wanted everyone to see him first. He sat down and checked his hair and his phone camera. Then he told me he was starving and ordered a drink before we even finished saying hello properly. I ordered a drink too because I felt awkward. The waiter left and we started talking, but it felt one-sided. He just talked about how much stress he had in his life. Work stress, family stress, friend stress, random stress. It sounded like he wanted sympathy from a stranger he barely knew. He kept sighing and saying his stomach hurt from all the pain he carried. I nodded, but inside I just wanted him to ask at least one thing about me. He didn't. Our drinks came, and he finished half of his in 2 gulps. Then he leaned close and said he hoped he wasn't being too intense. I said no, but only to be polite. He kept staring at his drink like it was a lifeline. Then he asked if I would mind splitting the bill. He said there was nothing wrong with being fair. I said that was fine, but I thought if he asked me out, he would at least offer to pay for the drinks. I wasn't going to argue, though. The waiter brought over menus, and he said he wasn't hungry anymore. He said the drink helped him settle down. I ordered food because I wasn't about to sit there hungry because of his mood swings. While we waited, he kept dumping his whole life on me. Every detail about his problems. How he can't sleep. How he feels misunderstood. How no one listens to him the way I did. I barely said anything, and somehow I was the best listener he ever met. He even thanked me for helping him talk it all out. I said nothing because I didn't even know what he thought this was. I got my food and tried eating, but he kept talking nonstop. Every time I picked up my fork, he added a new dramatic moment. He held his head like he was about to cry. I honestly thought he might break down right there. The waiter came by to check on us and asked if everything was okay. Joshua quickly smiled and said yes, but then leaned in again, telling me he never opens up to anyone like this. The waiter left but kept an eye on our table because it probably looked like I was dealing with a crisis. I finished eating and asked for the bill. The waiter brought it. Joshua stared at the number like he was shocked by how much one drink cost. He told me he didn't bring his wallet. He tapped his pockets like he was checking, but it was obvious he already knew it wasn't there. I asked if he had any money on his card. He said no because he had to pay for something earlier. He looked at me with this face that begged for a bailout. I said it was fine, I would cover my food and drink, but he had to take care of his. He didn't panic. Instead, he straightened up and smiled. He waved the waiter back, and the waiter walked over slowly like he sensed nonsense coming. Joshua lowered his voice while still smiling. He said that I was his therapist and we were having a session. He pointed to his drink and said it counted as a medical thing he needed to calm down. He said the restaurant should not charge him because therapy is different. The waiter looked at him like he had lost his mind. I froze. I wanted to disappear. The waiter stared at me, waiting for me to deny it. But Joshua looked so confident, like he was used to lying like that. I shook my head and said I wasn't his therapist. The waiter asked Joshua to pay properly. He suddenly held his stomach and said he felt faint and needed air. He said maybe he should leave before he collapsed. He stood up like he was in pain, and I knew he was about to walk out without paying. I grabbed the bill and paid for everything just to stop the scene. I didn't want the waiter thinking I was part of this scam. Joshua watched me pay with this tiny smirk like he knew this would happen. I wanted to scream. He said he would pay me back, but I didn't believe him. The waiter gave me a sorry look and walked away. I felt embarrassed even though I didn't do anything wrong. We stepped outside, and he suddenly looked relaxed. Like all that stress magically disappeared now that I paid. He said thank you again for listening to his problems. He said he hadn't felt that supported in a long time. I stared at him thinking about how he used me and didn't even feel bad. Then his phone buzzed and he took a call. He walked away while talking happily like a completely different person. He didn't even say goodbye. I watched him laugh and turn a corner like the whole night never happened. I called a ride and stood there, my arms crossed, angry at myself for sitting through all that. When I got home, he messaged me saying he wanted to see me again because I was amazing. I blocked him before I even finished reading the message. I threw my shoes off and sat on my floor thinking about how a date could go so wrong, even without anything dramatic happening. Now I look at every date differently. If someone tells me too much too fast, I run. If they sigh more than they smile, I run. And if anyone so much as jokes about me being their therapist, I am leaving right away. But I still wonder how many times he has pulled that same move. How many people have paid for his drinks because they didn't want a scene? How many restaurants think some random girl is his therapist? Hey guys, really sorry to interrupt. If you're still listening, then you're enjoying the story so far. And if you are enjoying, then please hit that like button. That's all I ask of you. Thanks so much. Now back to the stories. I knew something was off with Ethan before he even sat down, but I still decided to go through with it because I kept telling myself I needed to stop overthinking everything. He kept messaging me nonstop earlier in the day, acting excited, saying he couldn't wait to meet me. That made me feel like maybe this would be a good one for once. But then right before we met, he suddenly texted saying he only had a short window and couldn't stay out late. I thought maybe he worked early the next day or something. I didn't expect the truth to be way worse. We met at this bubble tea place because he said he didn't want a loud, crowded restaurant. I reached first and grabbed a seat near the window so I could see when he arrived. The place smelled like sugar in plastic cups. The workers had these cute aprons. Everyone was laughing or taking photos with their drinks. I was scrolling through my phone pretending I wasn't nervous. Then he walked in. He had this rushed look, like someone who had run across town just to avoid being late. He scanned the room quickly before walking over to me. He smiled, but his eyes kept moving around, like he was searching for someone else. He sat down and put his phone face up on the table like he needed to keep checking it every second. I tried to ignore it and asked how he was. He gave a normal answer, but halfway through talking his phone buzzed, and he stopped mid-sentence to stare at the screen. It wasn't even a quick glance like a normal person. He picked it up and typed something fast with his jaw clenched. Then he locked the phone and said sorry. I laughed it off thinking maybe work was bothering him. But then it happened again, and again. The screen kept lighting up like it was trying to expose him. He kept turning it over, then turning it back like he couldn't decide if he wanted to see the messages or not. We ordered drinks and he watched the door like he was expecting someone to run in and scream his name. I asked if he was okay. He said he was fine, but he hated being away from his phone too long because someone gets anxious. He didn't say who, but the way he said it made me feel like he was hiding something big. While we sat there, he kept checking the time on his phone every few minutes. I joked about him needing to go somewhere, and instead of laughing, he nodded and said, yeah, actually. He looked at me dead serious and asked if we could speed things up. We hadn't even taken a sip of our drinks yet. I tried to keep things moving and ask questions, but it felt like he wasn't even listening. Every time his phone buzzed, his eyes flicked down like he was scared to miss a single message. After like 10 minutes, I asked what was going on because I was tired of pretending everything was normal. He sighed and leaned in like he was telling me a secret that he didn't want the whole world to hear. He said he needed to be honest. He said he was married. My mouth literally dropped. I stared at him, waiting for the part where he explained they were separated or getting a divorce or something that made sense. Instead, he said his wife was sleeping at home right now and she always checks where he is when she wakes up. He pointed to his phone and said she had his location turned on. He said he comes out only when she takes her evening nap because she is a deep sleeper. I didn't even know how to react. I wanted to throw my drink, but I didn't want to cause a scene. He tried to rush past it like it was no big deal. He said he just wanted to have fun sometimes. He said she didn't give him attention anymore and he deserved happiness too. He said he only has about an hour before she wakes up and checks everything, and he needed to get back before she asked any questions. I told him that he should go home to his wife. He looked annoyed and said I was being dramatic. He kept saying I was different from other girls, and he thought I would understand. Understand what? That he sneaks out like a teenager grounded for life. That he lies to someone he lives with just so he can sit here and stare at me like I'm a side quest he is trying to finish before the main boss wakes up. The bubble tea came and he didn't even drink his. He was still glued to his phone. At one point he stood up and walked toward the window, pretending to stretch, but I saw him take a photo of the street outside. He said he needed proof he wasn't somewhere suspicious. He said sometimes his wife asks for a picture of his surroundings. My skin crawled at the idea that I was helping him cheat, even by just sitting there breathing air near him. I stood up and said I was leaving. He begged me to wait 5 more minutes so his wife wouldn't get suspicious if he left too quickly. I looked at him like he was insane. He lowered his voice and said she might drive around looking for him if she wakes up early. He said he couldn't go outside yet. That was when I felt trapped. Not by him exactly, but by the situation. I didn't want to be near someone who was basically whispering to me about how he sneaks around behind a woman who trusts him. I didn't want to be the reason someone's marriage got even worse. I didn't want to be part of anything messy. I grabbed my bag and walked away fast. He tried to follow, but then his phone went off again and he froze. His face went pale. He said she was calling. He answered right there and started laughing fake like he was having the best time out with friends. I didn't stay to hear more. I left the shop and kept walking until I turned a corner and he wasn't in sight anymore. The whole way home I kept imagining him running through the streets trying to get back before she woke up fully. Maybe she called him multiple times. Maybe she drove around searching for his location. Maybe she had no idea that while she was asleep, he was telling strangers about their marriage like it was a joke. I read that message he sent me later saying sorry if he scared me and that he hoped we could try again another night. Another night when she was asleep and couldn't catch him. I blocked him and threw my cup away even though it was full. It didn't taste like sugar anymore. It tasted like lies. It tasted like panic. I never want to be someone's secret again. I never want to look at someone and wonder who is tracking them from home. I never want to sit across from someone whose whole life depends on whether another person wakes up too soon. I knew the date was going to be weird from the second he texted me. He kept saying we should go somewhere real, and not one of those places where food looks nice just for pictures. I thought he meant a chill restaurant, like something with normal tables and actual menus. But then he sent the location, and it was this tiny cafe squeezed between a laundrette and a shop that sold random phone cases. I didn't want to judge right away. I told myself maybe the food would be great, and he just didn't care about showing off. I tried to stay positive. I showed up a little bit early because I like having time to settle before meeting someone. The cafe smelled like burnt toast and cleaning spray. There were only 3 small tables, and one of them was stacked with paper cups and bins. The chairs didn't match. The owner kept coughing into his hand and wiping down the counter with the same cloth. I stood there thinking, wow, okay, this is definitely different from the dates my friends brag about. I almost texted him to cancel, but I didn't want to look rude. Liam walked in 5 minutes later wearing a hoodie that looked older than me. He gave me this big grin like he had just won some imaginary competition. He sat down and said we were lucky because this place was his secret spot. He said only smart people come here. He talked like he discovered the place and owned it. The menu was on a piece of paper taped to the wall. Toast, sandwich, soup, drinks. That was literally it. I tried not to laugh. We ordered 2 sandwiches and drinks. The owner nodded and disappeared behind a curtain that honestly looked like it hadn't been washed in years. Liam leaned back like he was finally relaxed now that he was in his comfort zone. Then he pulled out a thick stack of vouchers from inside his pocket. They were all printed for the same cafe. They looked brand new. He flicked through them like a deck of cards and said he wasn't paying full price for anything ever again. I asked where he got all of them. He smiled and said he got lucky because his ex used to come here all the time. He told me she loved this cafe and she collected vouchers so they could come together and save money. He laughed and said he took the whole stack when she was looking after they broke up. He looked proud of himself. I didn't even know how to respond. It just felt uncomfortable. Our sandwiches came up. It looked like something you would make in year 7 when you don't have anything except the basics in your kitchen. I took the smallest bite possible. Liam was eating like he hadn't eaten in 3 days. Mid-bite, he pulled out his phone. He said he needed to show me something. I thought maybe a funny video or a meme, but nope. He opened his contacts and clicked on a name labeled "Don't Answer." He pressed call. I thought it was a joke until a woman answered. I could hear her voice loud enough, even though he didn't put it on speaker. She sounded annoyed. He said, "Hey, guess where I am?" Then he looked at me with the biggest smirk like I was supposed to be impressed. He told her he was at her favorite place using her vouchers with me. He said she should have been nicer to him because now look who is winning. My whole body froze. I stared at the table pretending like I didn't exist. She must have started shouting or something because he held the phone away from his ear and rolled his eyes. He hung up and laughed like he had just pulled off a prank for $1 million. He said she always thought she was better than him, and he was happy she would be mad all day now. I didn't even want to eat anymore. I felt like I had been dragged into someone else's breakup. He started talking about her nonstop like he was reading from a rant list he memorized. How she never appreciated him. How she bought a car without asking what he thought. How she changed her hair and didn't let him pick the color. How she blocked him and he didn't deserve that. Every word was dripping with bitterness. It was like I wasn't even there. I was just a prop so he could hurt her back. He kept waving the voucher stack in the air like trophies. I noticed some had her handwriting on them. Little notes like, "For date night," and "Use before summer." I felt sick. Those were never meant for him to use on someone else just so he could brag. I asked why he even wanted to date if he clearly wasn't over her. He said he was over her and this was just him proving it. I thought being over someone usually means not calling them. I checked my phone pretending something important popped up. I said I needed to go home early because of family stuff. He didn't seem bothered at all. He just ordered dessert for himself with another voucher. He waved goodbye with his mouth full and told me to message him later. Like nothing weird had happened. Like embarrassing his ex in front of me was normal. When I stepped outside, I took the deepest breath ever. The cold air felt cleaner than anything inside that cafe. I walked away quickly hoping he wouldn't decide to come after me or call me like he did her. But then my phone buzzed. I looked down and saw a long message from him saying he had a great time and that I should be grateful he shared his special place and vouchers with me. He said most girls he talks to don't get treated that well. I blocked him right there. On the way home, I kept thinking about the ex. How she probably trusted him enough to share things she liked, and he just used them as tools to make her miserable. I wondered how many times he had done that before me. Maybe I was just another stranger sitting in a chair he forced into a gang she never asked to be part of. It made me feel dirty in a way I can't explain. When I got home, I threw my clothes in the basket like they were contaminated with bad energy. I sat on my bed thinking how a date at a cheap cafe could somehow feel more stressful than anything expensive or fancy. People can act nice online, talk sweet for days, hype you up, and then drag you into their drama the second you sit down. And you don't even see it coming. Now, every time someone suggests grabbing food somewhere casual, I imagine a stack of stolen vouchers sitting between us and a phone call to a furious ex. I guess the only good thing is that I got out early before it got worse. But I still wonder if he called her again after I left, telling her I ran away scared like he won something. I hope she never sees me as part of whatever revenge she thinks he is doing. I used to think the worst thing that could happen on a date was awkward silence or someone chewing too loud. But then I met Daniel. It still freaks me out thinking about how normal everything seemed at first. Like if you saw him in the street, you would think he is just a regular guy. He read books, has a job at some tech place, dresses like he knows what fits him. He talked to me like I mattered. He had that confident type of attitude that made you think he had his life together way more than the average person. The type of guy you meet and think, yeah, why not? I should have just stayed home that night. We planned to meet at this small burger spot near the station. It had those neon lights and big windows where you could see everyone inside like a fish tank. I sat down first because I got there early. I kept checking my phone and fixing my hair in the reflection. I was excited, not even going to lie. When he walked in, he smiled like we had known each other forever. He sat across from me and pulled out his phone right away, placing it face up on the table. I thought maybe he was expecting a call from work or something. I didn't think twice. We ordered food and started talking. He wasn't funny, but he wasn't boring either. He talked a lot though, mostly about himself and all the crazy stuff he said he did. He said he had his own standards and he liked to judge people based on how they acted on dates. I just laughed thinking he was joking, like some dumb way to flirt. But then he pulled out this small camera from his pocket. It looked like a little cube with a lens on the front. He pressed a button and put it next to the salt shaker. I asked what he was doing, and he just said he likes to film every date so he can go home later and rate them. I waited for him to laugh. He didn't. I thought maybe he was testing me to see if I would freak out. I told him that was weird. He shrugged like it was the most normal thing ever. He even bragged about how he had a folder for every girl he ever went out with. I stared at him like, is this guy for real? He kept going, talking about how he liked seeing how people act when they think no one is watching. But I was watching him and I could see he loved having control over everything. The food came and I was already planning how to get out of there. I looked at the door, thinking I could just pretend I needed the bathroom and slip outside. But then I noticed something on his phone screen. It looked like a video app. And right there in the middle was my face. A live stream of me sitting across from him. It wasn't just from the camera cube. The angle was from somewhere else, a little higher. Perfect view of me. I looked around the room thinking maybe there were cameras built into the walls or something, but that didn't make sense. I was trying not to panic, but inside I was shaking. I asked where the video was coming from. He smiled bigger than before and said he always sets up early. He said he likes having different angles so he can watch the whole date later. He said he even puts them in slow motion sometimes to study people's reactions. He said he had already filmed me walking in. I swear in that moment I wanted to throw my drink in his face and run. But he was staring at me like he was waiting to see how I reacted, like I was some experiment he wanted to record. I slid my hand under the table and grabbed my bag. I told him I needed a second to fix my makeup. He nodded and kept staring at his phone like the footage was more interesting than me being right in front of him. I walked to the bathroom, but instead of going inside, I kept walking to the exit. I didn't look behind me because I didn't want to see if he was watching. I stepped outside and walked fast down the street. It wasn't even that late, but the roads were kind of empty. I called a ride and stood near a busy corner so he couldn't corner me somewhere quiet. My heart was beating like crazy. Then my phone buzzed. A message from him. He said he could still see me. He sent a photo. It was a screenshot from a higher angle. Me standing outside waiting for my ride. I looked around and saw nothing. No camera. No one filming. Just streetlights and passing cars. I dropped my phone back into my bag because I didn't want to know if he was still texting. I kept staring at the road waiting for my ride to show up. I wanted to be inside a car with the doors locked. Finally, the ride pulled up and I jumped in before the driver even asked my name. I told him to go. He looked confused, but he just started driving. I locked the doors myself. I'd opened my phone again and blocked Daniel on everything. But blocking didn't change the fact that he had videos of me. Walking, sitting, talking, eating, whatever. He had all those angles and who knows where he saved them. When I got home, I checked every app. Every setting. I turned my phone off and back on. I threw my jacket on the floor. I sat on my bed thinking about how he had probably done this to every girl he had ever taken out. Just collecting faces like trophies. Reading them later like some twisted game. He probably had a whole list with numbers next to names. And now mine was on it somewhere. He probably still has the recordings right now. Maybe watching them. Probably zooming in on the parts that made me uncomfortable. I know I should go to the police, but what do I even say? That some guy filmed me in a burger place. They will ask for proof, and I have nothing except the memory of this phone screen showing my face live. I keep checking around my room sometimes just to make sure no cameras are hidden here. It sounds stupid, but once you see yourself on a stranger's screen like that, you start thinking anything is possible. Now, when someone asks me to go out, I cancel. I don't sit in front of windows anymore when I eat. I stare at my phone like it is a threat. I keep thinking about his voice telling me he judges everyone after the date. I keep thinking about how he smiled when he showed me the footage. Like that was the whole point. Like I was never a person to him. Just another angle. Another file. I swear this all started because I thought I was being smart with my choices. I thought picking a guy who worked at a hospital meant he had his life handled. I mean, someone who deals with patients and all that must be calm and responsible, right? I was wrong. So wrong. I met this guy called Marcus online, and he seemed normal enough. We talked for like 2 weeks, and he kept saying he wanted to take me somewhere lousy, somewhere where we could actually talk instead of shouting over loud music. I thought that sounded decent. He also kept saying he barely ever drinks because he sees what alcohol does to people all day. That sounded like a green flag. I thought he was a safe choice. It never crossed my mind that this man would end up vomiting on me. Not once. Twice. The date started weird before it even started. He texted me saying his shift ran late and asked if he could meet me directly at the restaurant. I said sure. I got there first and waited in the lobby area of this little Italian place where the lights were kind of dim and all the tables were pushed close together. I remember thinking I should have picked somewhere with bigger space because I like breathing room, but I didn't want to seem picky. He walked in about 10 minutes later and I noticed he was kind of sweating even though it wasn't hot at all. He hugged me like he was happy to see me, but he smelled like he had been running or something. He kept saying he was starving and asked the waiter for the strongest drink they had. That made me pause because didn't he just say he barely drinks? But I thought maybe he had a long day. I just let it slide. He ordered 2 drinks before the food even came out. He kept saying he needed to relax. His hands were shaking a bit and I was trying not to stare, but it was obvious. He read my face and told me not to worry. He said the hospital was stressful and once he eats he will be fine. I nodded, but I was kind of scanning the room thinking I should pick a seat closer to the exit next time. The food came out and he ate like he hadn't eaten in a week. Every bite looked like a fight between hunger and sickness. Halfway through his plate of pasta, he froze. Like his whole face turned a different color. He swallowed hard and grabbed his chest. I asked was he all right, and before I could even move away, he threw up. Right on my jeans. The sound was so loud the couple next to us turned around instantly. I just looked down and saw sauce mixed with everything else dripping onto my shoes. He kept apologizing, but there was still some on his chin and I didn't even know where to look. The waiter came running over with napkins and asked if he needed medical help. Marcus said no and rushed to the bathroom, leaving me sitting there with vomit soaking into me. I should have left right there. I should have called a cab home and blocked him. But he came back after like 5 minutes saying he cleaned up and he wanted to pay for the food to make things right. I didn't want to be rude, so I told him we should just call it a night. He begged me to let him walk me outside because he felt horrible. I agreed because the quicker I got to fresh air, the better. As soon as we stepped out, he bent over and put his hands on his knees. I thought he was catching his breath, but then he started gagging again. I stepped back, but not far enough. He vomited a second time, and this time it hit my jacket. I just stood there stuck between being disgusted and confused. I couldn't even talk. He was wiping his mouth again, saying his stomach suddenly couldn't handle the drinks and the food and the stress. I didn't care at that point. I just wanted to be gone. I walked faster and he kept following behind me trying to explain. I finally said I was getting a ride home and pulled my phone out. My jacket smelled so bad I almost gagged myself. While I waited for my ride, he sat down on the curb holding his head like he was about to pass out. People walked by staring because it looked like I had to drag some random drunk guy out with me. I just kept checking how close my ride was because I didn't want him touching me again. The ride arrived and I told him to take care and that I hope he feels better, mostly so he wouldn't try anything weird. I sat in the car with all the windows down even though it was cold. I kept looking at the stains on my clothes thinking I need to burn everything. My driver didn't even have to ask what happened. He just said long night. I nodded and stared out the window trying to forget the smell. When I got home, I threw everything I had on straight into the washing machine. I showered twice. I sat on my bed with my hair dripping thinking about how this was the worst date of my entire life. And the craziest part is he still messaged me later that night saying he had a great time and wanted to make it up to me by cooking next time. Like, how did he think that would fix anything? I didn't reply. I blocked him and just sat there laughing to stop myself from being angry. It made me think about how little you know someone even if you talk online for weeks. You can think you are safe and choose someone who seems like they have everything under control, but you will end up running home covered in vomit. Twice. People always talk about dates being awkward or boring, but no one prepares you for biohazard level disasters like this. And what really gets me is how he handled it like it was normal. Like everyone does this on dates. I still wonder if this is something he has done before, or if I was just chosen as the unlucky target for his stomach to reject life that night. I guess the only good part is that now whenever someone asks me what my worst date was, I don't even have to think. There is no competition. Nothing can top it, unless someone literally explodes next time. But I doubt I'll ever go out with someone who looks ready to collapse again. If a guy walks in sweating like he ran a marathon and asking for strong drinks right away, I'm leaving. I don't care if he calls me rude. I'd rather be rude than come home smelling like someone else's inside. I thought the weirdest thing someone could bring on a first date was a bad attitude or maybe a strange hobby. I didn't think someone would pull out a whole binder like we were about to do taxes together. And I definitely didn't think he'd talk about me moving into his place before I even finished my food. Max turned one dinner into a business meeting where somehow only he made the rules. We matched after texting a bit about work and random memes. He said he was financially smart and didn't waste money. I thought that was fine. Everyone wants to save. He suggested a cheap little diner. The place was old school with squeaky boots and loud ceiling fans, but the food smelled good, so I didn't mind. He was already there, sitting straight like he was at a job interview. He barely said hi before asking if I was good with money. I laughed and said I'd try. He took that way too seriously. He nodded and wrote something down in a notebook he brought. I thought he was joking, but he didn't smile even once. He kept that notebook next to him like it was his secret weapon. We ordered burgers and fries. While we waited, he asked every financial question possible. How much I earn, how I budget, if I ever miss payments, if I'm loyal with money. That phrase made no sense, but he said it like it was normal. I kept trying to joke, but he was completely serious. He said trust starts with numbers. He said love is useless without a plan. Then the food came, and I hoped he'd chill out. Nope. That's when he pulled out the binder. It was thick, organized with tabs. Each page had charts and stickers and printed screenshots. He slid it across the table like he was offering a contract. He told me to look. I didn't want to, but he stared until I did. The binder showed his entire saving strategy. Colored envelopes inside. Categories like future home and wedding and family car. Each section had monthly goals. He pointed and explained like he rehearsed for hours. I nodded politely, but inside I was thinking, why am I here? He talked about how he saved every penny and how relationships fail when people waste money. He said he needed someone who understands structure, someone who doesn't buy unnecessary things. He said if we moved in together, we'd become a financial team. That didn't sound too bad until he got to the rules. He tabbed one page that had bold writing. He said if I moved in with him, I would send every paycheck directly to his account. He said he would manage it better than I ever could. He said bills and allowance would be controlled by him so I don't mess things up. He even used the word allowance like I was a kid. He said couples should have one custodian, and it would be him. I stared at him thinking he had to be joking. He wasn't. He explained the whole system. He said on payday I would transfer everything to him. He would handle food shopping and rent and savings. He said any purchase over $10 should be approved first. He said it like he'd done this before, like he was the boss of some weird money cult. I asked what happens if I want something small for myself. He said he'd decide if it's important. He said he can tell when someone wants to waste his effort. He called it his effort because in his head my money was his responsibility now. He said he would track every spending habit until I improved. He pointed to another page in the binder. It had my name already printed on a sticker like he planned this before meeting me. He said he likes to be prepared. He said once I commit to him financially, there's no leaving. He smiled a tiny bit when he said that part. Not a sweet smile. More like he crossed something off a list. I told him it was too early to talk about moving in. He said no, it's not. He said he decides timing. He said if someone cares, they adapt fast. He kept saying care equals structure. He said messy people ruin everything. He said controlling money means controlling the relationship in a healthy way. I pushed the binder back to him. He slid it right back like I didn't have a choice. He told me to hold it because I should get familiar. He said I should take it home and study it, like homework, for a relationship. I tried to change the topic again, but he grabbed a fry and kept talking like the whole plan was already official. He asked how soon I could move in. I said I had my own life and wasn't rushing anything. He said that's exactly why he needs to help. He said I shouldn't live on my own because independent living leads to independent thinking. He said living alone creates danger for couples. He said independence is selfish. I asked him what happens if the relationship doesn't work. He stared at me like he had never considered that. He said failure isn't an option once money is involved. He said breakups only happen when the system breaks. He said his system didn't break. He said if I stayed disciplined, things would be perfect. I told him I was going to the restroom. He nodded and said don't think too long because overthinking means fear. I left my drink untouched and walked out of the building straight to the bus stop. I didn't look back. My hands felt shaky like my card might already be linked to his account, somehow just because I listened. On the bus home, he spammed my phone with long messages, screenshots of his binder pages, offers to help me fix my finances, reminders that true partners share everything. He said honesty starts with bank access. He said sending him my paycheck would prove I'm ready for a real future. I blocked him before he could calculate how many seconds I took to reply. The binder plan probably has empty space waiting for the next girl who doesn't run first. I hope she runs. The weird thing with Leo is he acted like we were already in some long, deep relationship before we even sat down. Like he planned that this one random meetup would decide our whole future. I thought first dates were supposed to be chill and fun, not whatever trap he turned it into. I still think about how fast it went from normal to messed up. We mashed on a random Monday night. He seemed calm in texts. Didn't talk too much. Didn't flirt too heavy. Just basic questions like music and food and stupid memes. He asked to meet for drinks at a quiet little bar near the river. I said sure because it looked like a nice vibe with dim lights and outdoor seats. I showed up a tiny bit late, like 10 minutes, because I missed the bus. He was already outside waiting, and he smiled, but not like he was happy to see me. More like he was proud I showed up. He said finally, but in a tone like he'd been checking the clock every second. I tried to ignore that weird comment because I didn't want to start the night annoyed. We sat by the river. The place had those yellow lights hanging across the seating area and music playing quietly. The view was nice. I thought, okay, maybe this will be fine. We ordered drinks and I asked him how his day was. He didn't answer that. Instead, he asked me what I truly fear in life. Just straight in the deep stuff with zero transition. I laughed because I thought he was joking or trying to be dramatic. He stared at me waiting for an answer like the question was a life or death thing. I said I didn't know and he leaned in like he was studying my eyes. He said I should know because fear shows who someone is. I tried to brush it off and asked him the same question, but he said he didn't have any fear because he doesn't lose people. He said people lose him. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just sipped my drink and looked at the water. He kept asking random intense questions like, what's the worst pain I've ever felt emotionally, and how many heartbreaks I've had, and if I think loyalty can happen instantly. He talked about trust like it was something you force instead of something you build. He said trust only takes one conversation if both sides are serious. He kept using the word serious over and over like it was the theme of the night. I tried turning the conversation back to normal topics like favorite shows or whatever, but he kept shaking his head like that was pointless. He said small talk was for weak connections. He said he wanted depth from the start. He said I should open up properly or this wasn't going anywhere. Like I owed him a whole emotional history in the first 20 minutes. Every time I gave a short answer, he looked disappointed. He would stare at me like I was failing something. He kept nodding to himself like he was making a decision about me. He said it like a confession almost. He said I was exactly the type of person he gets attached to. He said he doesn't choose who he bonds with. He just knows. He said right now he knows. He said I'm familiar. He said fate is fast when it's real. I told him we just met and we should relax. He smiled like I was being silly. He said he didn't want to waste time pretending we were strangers. He said connection is proven in silence. Then he literally stared at me without saying anything for like a whole minute. I kept trying to look away, but he kept holding eye contact. It didn't feel romantic or anything. It felt like he was checking if I would break. Then he said something that made my chest tighten. He said if I left the date early, he would assume I agreed to be exclusive with him. I asked why, and he said because only someone scared of feelings runs away. He said leaving would prove I cared too much. He said staying would prove I was comfortable being his. Either way, he decided he wins. My brain just froze trying to process the logic that made zero sense. I told him that's weird and controlling. He shrugged like controlling wasn't even a word. He said commitment is simple. Either I'm here fully or I'm running because I feel something. He said people who walk out always come back. He said walking away only makes things stronger. He was talking like he already owned me or something. He asked if I deleted my dating app yet. I said no because that's insane, we literally just met. He said, well, you will by tomorrow. He said tonight is the start of something serious and I shouldn't pretend otherwise. He said when he sees what he wants, he doesn't question it. He said I should be grateful someone doesn't play games. This whole time he didn't raise his voice once. That calm tone made everything creepier. I kept grabbing my drink, just had something to do with my hands. I told him again we should slow down. He asked slow down what? He said there's no speed in real connection. He asked if I was nervous. I said obviously yeah, because the pressure was too much. He smiled like he liked that. Like nervousness was proof. He leaned in closer and said if I walk out now, they'll take that as a yes. Yes to being exclusive. Yes to us. He said he would text me every morning and night and check in during the day because now we'd be a team. He said the only reason people walk out is because feelings hit too fast. He said he knew how this worked. He said I was scared to admit I liked him. I told him no. He said denial is normal. He said I can say no, but my eyes say yes. I looked away instantly because I didn't want him reading anything. I said I was leaving. He said good. That means we're official. He said he would text me later and we could plan our week. I stood up and his smile stretched wider like he expected that exact move. He waved at me slowly like we just shared some romantic moment. I walked away faster because if I stayed longer, he would convince himself we were married. I turned the corner and checked my phone, already scared of what he might send. I had 3 messages instantly. One said thank you. One said we're in this together now. The last one said don't pretend you didn't feel it. I blocked him before he sent more paragraphs about fate or destiny or whoever he thinks he is. I still don't get how someone can twist leaving into saying yes, like he gave me no way out that didn't turn into the same answer in his head. Now, anytime a guy tries to get too deep too fast, I just mentally exit. I'm not letting anyone decide we're exclusive because I walked out to breathe. I didn't think locking my phone would turn into some huge investigation. Everyone has a lock screen. It's normal. But Owen treated it like I was running a full secret life. The entire date was him trying to catch me lying about something I wasn't even doing. I have never been so tired of defending a literal password. We matched and he seemed alright at first. His profile wasn't crazy. Couple gym pictures. A photo with a cat he said was his sister's. He messaged normally. He asked me to grab bubble tea in town. That sounded easy and quick, so I said yeah. He seemed excited, like maybe too excited. But I ignored the weird vibe. I got there a bit early and waited outside. He walked up with this big grin like he already won something. We said hi and went inside. At first it was fine. We ordered. We found a table near the window. I put my phone screen down like I always do so I'm not distracted. The second I did that, he stared at it like I just hit a weapon. He asked why I put it face down. I said I always do that on dates so I'm not rude. Instead of appreciating that, he acted suspicious. He looked me dead in the eye and asked who I was hiding. I laughed thinking he was kidding. He wasn't. He asked why I was laughing because apparently that made me even more suspicious. I told him chill out, it's not that deep. He asked why I didn't unlock my phone to prove there was nothing there. I told him because I didn't feel like showing him my personal stuff after knowing him 15 minutes. He stared like that answer was shady. Then he asked why I had a lock screen in the first place. I said everyone does. He said liars do. I tried to change the subject. Asked about his job. He gave short answers while glancing at my pocket where my phone was. He kept making comments like, I bet your notifications are blowing up right now. I bet someone is waiting for you. I bet you have backup plans. I said no because that's insane. Our drinks came and he finally looked away. I thought maybe he calmed down. Then my phone buzzed once. Just a message from my cousin. He froze. He stared at me like the phone buzzed with some signal. Like I blinked wrong. He asked who it was. I told him it didn't matter. He asked to see it. I said no, and then he started analyzing me like he was some detective. He said I looked nervous. I wasn't nervous. I was annoyed. He said annoyed people hide guilt. I said guilty people accuse others. He didn't like that answer. He kept leaning forward like he was expecting me to break and give him all my secrets. He asked how many guys were in my contacts. He asked how many apps I used to talk to people. He asked if I ever deleted conversations so no one sees. He stringed these questions one after another like he already judged me. I said no to everything. He nodded like I was just saying what I thought he wanted to hear. I asked him if he trusts anyone at all. He said trust must be earned. Apparently the only way to earn it is to give him full access to your phone. He compared it to opening your front door. He said if I close the door, that means someone is inside. He said if I have a password, that I have a person I'm trying to keep away from him. He asked if my lock screen was a Face ID or code. I said code. He said Face ID is better because he can check if my eyes match what I'm saying. That creeped me out. He said he once dated a girl who locked her phone every 5 seconds, and that meant she was cheating. I said, or maybe she just didn't want anyone reading her messages. He didn't hear anything I said. He grabbed his own phone and placed it on the table, unlocked. He said, look. He scrolled through his apps and messages in front of me. He showed me his socials. He kept saying, see. Nothing to hide. He said, now it's my turn. I told him I don't owe him proof of anything. He sighed that I failed some big test. He said if I refuse, then that means I'm definitely hiding someone. He asked me again and again like he thought eventually I'd just give up. I told him I have boundaries and this is weird. He said maybe my boundary is that I like attention from other guys. He said maybe I thrive on people wanting me. He said maybe I enjoy playing him. I stared at him wondering how he turned a drink into a whole interrogation. He wasn't even angry. That made it creepier. He was calm, almost happy he found something to accuse me of. Like the problem made the date more interesting for him. He asked to hold my phone while I used both hands to drink. I said no. He asked why not like he didn't already know the answer. I said because I don't trust you. He said trust is a two-way street and I should try harder. I said trust isn't given to strangers who demand privacy codes. He tilted his head like he couldn't believe I said no again. He asked who I was texting earlier. I said literally no one he needed to worry about. He said if I had nothing to hide, I would show him. He said proof is the only thing that matters. He almost sounded desperate to find something wrong with me. Then my phone buzzed again. He stared at it. He stared at me. He said if I checked that message instead of paying attention to him, then the date is over. I didn't check it. I just put the phone deeper in my pocket. He smirked like that confirmed everything he believed. He said the real reason I won't unlock my phone is because whoever is texting me would get jealous. I stood up because I couldn't deal anymore. He stood up too quick and blocked my way. He wasn't threatening, but he was trying to control the moment. He asked one more time for my password. I said move. He stepped aside slowly like he was letting a liar escape. I walked out, and the moment I was outside, I breathed properly again. My phone buzzed, so I finally checked it. It was my cousin asking what bubble tea I got. That's it. The entire drama was over messages about drinks. On the way home, he messaged me paragraphs saying I missed out on someone loyal. He said I was scared of real connection. He said one day I'll wish I trusted him. I blocked him before he wrote more detective lines. Now I keep my phone extra private, not because I'm hiding anything, but because I know someone out there thinks passwords equal cheating, and I'm not letting anyone like that near my life again. The weirdest part was that he acted like I should thank him for stressing me out. Like making me panic was some kind of love language. I never thought a guy would literally test how much I would obey him on a first date, but Alfie made it his entire personality. We matched because he looked normal. Hoodie, trainers, smile that wasn't creepy at first glance. He messaged with short replies, but enough to seem decent. He asked if I wanted to go to this mini golf place. I thought perfect. Fun, public, easy. He suggested we meet outside the train station at 6. That sounded fine. I got ready a bit early because I hate rushing. I got there at 5:55. I texted him saying I'm here. He didn't read it. I stood by the entrance trying not to look like someone waiting for a random guy. 6'2", 6'5", 6'10". I checked my phone a lot. I started wondering if he was ghosting me. I thought maybe he was inside already. I messaged again. Nothing. Notifications were silent. The longer it took, the more awkward I felt. People kept walking past, and I pretended I was just relaxing there. At 6:20, he finally replied saying sorry running late. I asked how long. He said 2 minutes. I waited. Then 10 minutes went by and still nothing. I asked again if he was close. He didn't answer. I thought about leaving, but the dumb part of my brain was like, don't overreact. Maybe trains messed up. Another 10 minutes passed. I checked every guy walking out of the station thinking one would come up to me. He finally showed at 6:40 like that was totally normal. He walked over smiling and said he liked my patience. Instead of saying sorry properly, he said good girl like he was praising a dog. I ignored the creepy vibe because I didn't want to cause problems before the date even started. We walked for the mini golf, but he walked slow on purpose. I tried to follow his pace. He asked random questions like, do you get anxious? Do you hate waiting? Do you give up easily? He asked all of it with this weird proud smile like he was collecting data. I told him I don't like being late. He said he knows. I asked what that meant, but he didn't explain. He just kept walking. When we reached the place, the worker at the counter said sorry they were full for the next 2 hours because we missed the slot. Alfie looked at me and laughed, like he enjoyed hearing that. I asked why he didn't warn me or hurry. He shrugged and said he likes to test girls. He said making them late shows how they react under pressure. He said it reveals who stays calm and who freaks out. He said it also shows who listens. I told him that's messed up. He didn't care. He said if I didn't like it, I could go. But he said it expecting me to stay. Like he already knew I wouldn't leave because I wasted time coming there. I said whatever, let's just find something else to do because I wasn't going home yet after waiting that long. There was a food court upstairs, so we went there. He insisted I sit while he ordered. He took ages. I thought he left again. I texted him asking if he was in line. He didn't reply. I saw him across the hall on his phone leaning against a wall like he forgot I existed. He kept glancing up at me like he was timing how long it took for me to text again. I realized he was doing another test. I felt stupid. He finally brought the food. No drink. Fries cold. He asked if I was annoyed. He stared at my face waiting for any sign I was mad. I tried to stay calm because I refused to fail whatever twisted exam he thought this was. He leaned back and smiled like he had power. He said most girls would cry by now. He said I was doing better than the last one. I asked why he thinks controlling time equals control over someone. He said it shows who leads, who follows, who respects who. He said a girl who complains is a girl who can't be trusted. I told him trust doesn't come from forcing someone to wait around like an idiot. He laughed and said, see, you're learning. I wanted to walk out, but I also wanted to win now. I didn't want him to think he proved something, so I stayed, which was maybe the dumb part. After we ate, he suggested going on a bus instead of walking. He said it would be quicker. He walked toward a random stop, then stopped suddenly to tie his shoe. He told me to check the bus times. The bus was right there about to go. He waited until it was pulling away, then stood up and said, oh well, we missed it. He looked pleased. I said he did that on purpose. He said, of course. Another test. He said he loves seeing who blames him and who stays calm. He said it again. Stay calm, like a command. I took a slow breath because I didn't want to explode and feed his ego. Inside I was boiling. Outside I acted fine. We ended up just walking aimlessly. He kept talking about how timing is everything in relationships. How he needs someone who fits his pace. How he can't live with someone who wants to rush ahead or drag behind. He sounded like he was picking a pet, not a partner. When we were near the park, he sat on a bench and made me sit too. Then he pulled out his phone and set a timer. He pointed to the path and said walk to that lamppost and back before it hit 0. He said this was the final test, like some stupid game show. I looked at him like he was insane. He said if I care then I'll run. He said if I don't then I'm not worth his time. I stood up. Not to play, to leave. He said walking away means I failed. I said good. I'd rather fail his test than be stuck with someone who thinks panic is love. I walked fast toward the main road. He didn't chase. He just yelled behind me that I was too slow, too dramatic, not loyal enough, like I failed some ultimate mission, like he owned the scoreboard. I blocked him before he could text whatever nonsense he had planned. I got on a bus home and watched the time on my phone tick normally. No pressure, no rules, no twisted game. I realized he actually enjoyed the idea of controlling how someone moves, how someone reacts, how someone breathes almost. Now if someone shows up late to a date, I don't wait. I don't sit still for tests I never agreed to. I don't give anyone the satisfaction of grading my patience. I didn't expect my own friends to become part of the date before the date even started. I didn't think I'd sit across from a guy who literally turned us into a leaderboard. And I definitely didn't think he'd smile while telling me where I ranked. Worst part is how casual he was. Like comparing girls was the most normal thing ever. We matched after a random night scrolling. His pictures were basic gym selfies and one with a car that probably wasn't his. He messaged with quick replies like he was waiting for every notification. He asked to meet after one day. I said sure because I was bored and he looked all right. He picked a cinema in the mall so we could walk around after. I figured maybe we'd get snacks and talk. Nothing crazy. The moment he saw me, he smiled like he'd already scored points. I said hey, and he gave me a weird compliment about my timing. Not like you look good or nice to meet you. Literally, he said my reply speed was decent. I laughed awkwardly because who says that? I thought he was just being weird and joking, but he didn't laugh at all. We bought tickets. He didn't even ask what I wanted to watch. He already picked something and said trust me. I didn't trust him, but whatever. Standing in line for drinks, he pulled out his phone and held it where I could see. There were 3 chat notifications at the top. Full names. I recognized them instantly. 3 girls I know pretty well. Girls I hang out with. Girls who tell me every detail about their dating life. I stared at the screen and he noticed. Instead of being embarrassed, he actually looked proud. He said, yeah, I matched with them too. He said their names slowly like he wanted to watch my face react to each one. I already felt embarrassed and angry and confused all at once. He didn't stop. He said it was interesting to see who replied fastest, like it was a game. He told me the exact order we replied in. He said one of my friends took 10 minutes, another took an hour. I apparently replied in 2 minutes. He pointed at me like I should be proud to be number 1 on the list. He said it with this tone like he was some talent scout comparing stats. He kept tapping his phone while we waited for the popcorn like he wanted me to watch him judge us. He scrolled through messages and commented on every tiny thing. He said one of my friends was trying too hard. He said another one was getting boring energy. Then he looked up at me and said I was the most promising so far. Not because I was interesting, but because I was available. I asked if he always did that, compared girls. He said of course. He said you need a system to pick the best option. He said he liked seeing which of us would put in the most effort for him. He said he was testing loyalty. Loyalty to a guy I met yesterday. Loyalty to someone who didn't even pick a movie with me. I wanted to walk out right there, but the line moved and I froze because I didn't want to cause a scene. We went inside and sat down. He put his drink in my cup holder instead of his. He said he liked keeping his hands free to text because he couldn't let the others lose interest. He paid attention to his phone more than the screen. Every few minutes he whispered an update to me like I cared. He said another friend messaged again. He said her reply speed improved, so she might move up the ranking. He looked at me like he expected jealousy, like that would prove I wanted him more. I tried to watch the movie, but every notification sound made my chest tighten. I couldn't stop imagining a group chat later where my friends find out we all saw the same guy. I could already hear the awkward laughing, the jokes, the embarrassment. He didn't care at all. He liked it. He liked the idea of girls competing for him without knowing it. Halfway through, he turned the brightness up on his phone, even though it was dark in the cinema. He wanted me to see. He said, look. She sent a picture. He zoomed in and compared her to me. He whispered tiny details like he was analyzing stats. Hair length, makeup style, emoji usage. He rated each of us out loud like he was doing a review. I didn't talk much. I just sat there wishing the movie would end so I could disappear. He leaned closer and asked if my friends knew about him. He said it would be funny if we all talked about him together. He said he liked drama because it showed who cared most. I told him it's messed up. He shrugged like he didn't understand why. The movie finally finished and I got up fast. He followed me out, still glued to his phone. He said one of my friends was nearby at the mall because she just sent a location sticker. He said maybe we could bump into her. He said it like it would be the highlight of the night. I walked quicker and told him I was leaving. He didn't look bothered. He just checked his phone again. He said if I left now, he would count that as giving up. He said quitting meant I dropped to 3rd place. He spoke like he owned the scoreboard and I should care about where I stood. He even joked about how easy it is to replace someone since everyone responds eventually if you text enough. I told him I wasn't playing his game and I wasn't going to let him use me or my friends like that. He nodded calmly like he expected it. He said not everyone can handle competition. He said most girls pretend they don't care, but they always come back when they see they're losing. He said that with the most annoying smug face. I walked away without looking back. Outside, I texted my friends and told them everything. Turns out they all thought he only wanted them. He told each of them they replied fastest. He told each of them he chose them over someone else. He even invited them all to meet in the same week. He tried to turn us into content for his ego. One friend unmatched him right away. Another blocked him. The third cursed him out and screenshotted the messages to warn others. I just deleted the chat and went home thinking how messed up people can be. Like they don't see you as a person. Just a choice in a lineup. Just a number on a board. Just another message to open. I don't care where I ranked now. I'm just glad I left before he added new categories to judge. I used to think strange dates were like awkward pauses or someone not looking like their pictures. I didn't think someone would sit across from me smiling like we had a whole future together before I even finished my drink. And I definitely didn't think he had already planned kids with someone who apparently looked like me. The whole thing still feels messed up in my head like a movie scene that doesn't make sense. We matched on a random evening when I was bored. His profile was pretty normal. Just pictures of him at parks and one picture with a dog that apparently wasn't even his. He said he borrowed it for the photo but wanted one someday. I thought that was cute at the time. He asked me out quick, like within a day. I said yeah, because why not? He suggested milkshakes at this small diner outside of town. I liked that idea. Chill, relaxed, nothing intense. The second I walked in, I saw him already sitting there with this huge smile. Not a regular smile. One that looked stuck on his face like it was rehearsed. Like he had been practicing it in the mirror. I sat down and he stared at me like I was a long-lost prize. I tried to laugh it off, but he didn't laugh. He just kept smiling while his eyes flicked over every part of me like he was checking if I matched a checklist. I said hi, and he nodded slowly like he already knew what my voice would sound like. He kept saying this is perfect under his breath, but in a way I didn't know if he meant the date or me or the whole world. We ordered milkshakes. He didn't even look at the menu. He said he already knew what I would like. He got it right, but that just made it more weird because I never told him my favorite flavor. I asked him about work and family and random stuff, but he didn't seem interested in normal talk. He kept staring at my hands, my face, my hair. He asked if anyone ever told me I looked familiar. I said people say that sometimes. He leaned closer like that answer was the best thing he ever heard. He asked if I ever had someone obsessed with me before. The smile didn't move once. That question hit me weird. I tried to change the subject, but he wasn't done. He told me I reminded him of a girl he used to know, someone he cared about a lot. His voice dropped a little when he said cared, like past tense mattered. I asked what happened to her. He said she left. Just like that. Left. No story. No details. He said he knew he would find someone like her again. Identical almost. Then he pointed at me as if I was some replacement part he finally found. He kept talking about similarities. Random tiny things, like how I hold my glass. How I tap my fingers on the table. He said the girl did the exact same things. He said it like it was destiny. I said maybe lots of people do those random things. He shook his head way too serious. He said she was special. And so am I. He said it like he already combined us into one person. I tried to focus on my milkshake, but he wouldn't stop staring. It felt like he was imagining something instead of actually looking at me. He said he already picked names. I laughed because I thought he was joking. He wasn't. He said he spent years preparing. He had names for a boy and a girl. Names that apparently matched my vibes. He said the girl name first and watched my reaction like he was waiting for approval. I just blinked. Then he said the boy name. He said he already tested how the names sound with his surname and mine together. I didn't know how to respond because what do you say to that? We barely even knew each other. I said maybe we should slow down and just enjoy milkshakes. He nodded like he agreed, but the smile didn't change at all. He said he loves how I'm calm like her. He said her parents didn't like him. He said they tried to keep her away. Then he just went silent for a moment while staring into his glass like he was replaying memories. I asked where she is now even though I didn't really want the answer. He said she's gone. Then he corrected himself. She's not gone. Just not here anymore. I didn't understand what that meant, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to. I told myself maybe it was just a messy breakup he didn't want to talk about. But the way he said it made my chest feel tight. When he finally looked back at me, he seemed happier again. He said he already dreams about the future, like us living together and having a routine. He said he already picked a house style that would suit us. He described everything like it was locked in. Which side of the bed I would sleep on, what color the baby's room would be, how we would do weekly family nights. He talked and talked, and I felt stuck like the walls were closing in. Every time I tried to change the topic, he dragged it back to me and this girl he used to know. He said I should see pictures of her. He said I would freak out at how much we match. He pulled out his phone and started scrolling through old photos. I didn't want to look, but he leaned across the table and put the screen in my face. The girl did look a bit like me. Same hair color, similar style. Even her smile kind of matched mine, but her eyes looked sad in every picture. He kept zooming in on her face, pointing out every similarity. He said it almost like he was relieved, like he finally found a replacement puzzle piece. He said her name softly, like he missed saying it out loud. Then he looked straight at me and said he already made peace with starting his plans again. I was just the new version. Upgrade, that's the word he used. Upgrade. My appetite disappeared. I pushed my glass away. He grabbed my hand before I got a chance to stand up. Not hard, but tight enough to warm me. The smile stayed, but his eyes didn't look like they were smiling anymore. He said I shouldn't leave yet because we were just getting started. I told him I had to use the bathroom because I needed a second to breathe. I went inside and locked the door. I stared at myself in the mirror thinking, how did a milkshake date become a future planning nightmare? I counted to 10 and walked straight out the back exit of the diner. I didn't want him to see me leave. I didn't even grab my jacket. I walked fast down the street until I felt like he wasn't behind me. I checked my phone and saw messages from him already. Long paragraphs talking about how we shouldn't fight destiny, how he knew I was the one, how he waited too long to let me slip away. I blocked him before I could read more. Then I kept looking over my shoulder the whole way home. I never went back to that diner again, just in case. I still think about that girl in the photo sometimes. I wonder if she got away. I wonder if she left because she saw that same smile and realized too late it wasn't just a smile. I didn't think one date could turn into some weird loyalty test. I didn't think someone I hardly knew would try to control my entire phone within an hour of meeting her. But that's exactly what Megan did. And even now, I keep thinking how crazy it was that I sat there trying to process it, like maybe I misheard her. I didn't. She meant every word. The way we started talking was normal. I matched with her because she looked chill in her photos. Just normal selfies. No influencer energy. She messaged first. She seemed excited to meet. She told me she wanted something real. I thought cool. I wanted a simple night out. She suggested a quiet board game cafe. I thought that sounded different. Something fun, so I agreed. I showed up and she was already inside a table near the back. She waved me over like she already owned the place. She was tiny, but had this intense stare, like she was sizing me up before I even sat down. I said hi, and she said finally, like I kept her waiting even though I was actually a little early. The first few minutes weren't bad. We ordered drinks. She picked a card game and explained the rules super fast like I was supposed to already know them. I tried to laugh it off. I asked her about her hobbies. She said she doesn't have time for games in real life. But she said it with this weird seriousness while holding a stack of actual game cards. She kept looking at my phone every time the screen lit up from random notifications. She acted like every buzz was offensive. I tried to ignore that because some people get insecure. But her energy wasn't insecure. It was like she expected full control without knowing me. She leaned forward and asked who I talked to the most. I thought she meant family or friends, so I said my cousin and some people from school. She asked if any of them were girls. I said obviously yeah. She didn't smile. She asked how many girls I follow, how many follow me, how many girls I have on Snapchat. She asked one question after another like she was interviewing me for a position. My answers didn't even matter because I could tell she already assumed the worst. She accused me of being someone who juggles girls. I was like, we met 30 minutes ago, how was that a conclusion? She asked if I ever double texted anyone. She acted like that was some kind of crime. I joked lightly that sometimes replying fast isn't illegal. She didn't laugh once. She kept tapping her fingers like she had a whole plan she was waiting to activate. Then she hit me with it. Full force. She said if I was serious about this date, then I should prove I wasn't talking to other girls. She said I needed to delete them in front of her. She didn't say it like a suggestion. She said it like an order. Like if I didn't obey, I would be disqualified from something important. She stared at my phone like she was waiting for me to hand it over, like it belonged to her now. I thought she was joking at first. I laughed a little. She didn't laugh back. She repeated it slower. Delete every girl on your social apps or I leave. My brain froze. My phone buzzed again, and she looked down at it like it personally offended her. She asked if that was one of my little girlfriends. I told her she was being extreme, but she refused to back down. She said this is how you show loyalty from the start. I tried to explain that I barely knew her and deleting friends or classmates wasn't normal on a first date. She didn't blink. She told me she doesn't waste time with guys who won't commit fully. She said she would not be made uncomfortable by random girls sitting in my phone waiting to flirt. She acted like the apps were cheating. Like existing connections meant I was already disappointing her. I told her we should just focus on the game. She grabbed my wrist when I reached for my drink. Not hard, but enough to show she wasn't letting this go. She demanded my phone. She said she would scroll and pick who stays. She said real girlfriends do that. I reminded her we weren't even a couple. She said we could be if I passed this test. Everyone around us seemed locked in their own world, but I felt like the whole room could see the situation was going downhill. She sat back like a judge waiting for my decision. Delete girls or she walks out. Like that's such a normal choice on a first date. I felt trapped, embarrassed, angry. I put my phone on the table and told her I wasn't deleting anyone. She raised her eyebrows like she was proud she got a reaction. Then she said if I didn't listen, then it proved I wasn't serious about her. I didn't even read that much into her profile before meeting her, and now suddenly I'm supposed to act like we're months into a relationship. She stood up. She pushed her chair back loud. She said she doesn't deal with disloyal guys. Again, she said disloyal like I cheated. She said I wasted her time. She said I probably only came to brag to other girls later. She acted like she was escaping some dangerous liar, but I was just sitting there shocked. The waiter came over thinking something was wrong. She told him I turned out to be exactly what she feared, like I was some known type. She didn't even finish her drink. She grabbed her bag and walked out without saying goodbye. I stayed sitting for a minute just letting the embarrassment fade. I looked around to make sure nobody was watching me like I was some guy who failed a loyalty exam. I paid for both drinks because I didn't want to argue with staff and left quietly. When I stepped outside, she was still there, standing by a wall staring right at me. She didn't say a word. She just watched me walk away like she was judging my every step. I turned the corner and pulled out my phone. She had already unmatched me, like she erased every sign I existed the same way she wanted me to erase people. That night, my phone kept buzzing, and every time I looked at it, I remembered how she stared at it like my phone was a rival. I thought about how weird it was that she wanted full loyalty without earning trust. How she talked about commitment before we even shared a proper laugh. I blocked her number even though she never messaged me again. I didn't want even the memory of her popping up. Now when someone asks to see my phone, I get tense. If someone brings up loyalty too early, I get distant. That one date showed how fast control can show up disguised as love. Now, I know if someone demands everything before they give it anything that's not a relationship, that's ownership. I never thought a date could feel like a public audition. Like I wasn't a person but something being judged by strangers hiding behind screens. And the worst part is I didn't even know it was happening until it was too late. I still look back and think, how did I sit there and let all that happen? How did I become part of someone's content without even realizing? We matched pretty quick and she said she liked honest guys. She had loads of pictures with friends and selfies with filters. She looked confident. The kind of confident that is almost too much. I ignored that feeling because she seemed fun, and she laughed at my jokes in chat. We picked a bowling place for our first meet. Loud music, bright lights, not too serious. I thought that was perfect because even if things got awkward, we'd still be doing something. I got there 5 minutes early. She was already inside, leaning against the snack counter scrolling on her phone. She glanced up at me in this quick scanning way like she was checking if I matched my photos. I tried to look relaxed even though my heart was going fast. I said, hey, and she smiled kind of half-interested. We walked to our lane and she didn't stop looking at her phone, like the world inside that screen was more important than the actual date she agreed to come on. We put on the ugly bowling shoes and she asked me to take a picture of her by the neon sign. I did it because everyone asks for pictures now. She didn't even look at the picture I took. She grabbed her phone back, took about 10 selfies in different poses, and didn't say a word to me while doing it. I stood there holding my bowling ball like an idiot waiting for her to finish. When it was time to throw the ball, she finally paid attention. She told me she was actually good at bowling and then threw it straight into the gutter. She laughed like she meant for that to happen. I tried to keep the conversation going. Asked her about school and life and random stuff. She barely answered with full sentences. Her eyes kept flicking toward her phone every time it buzzed. I got a strike early on and she suddenly got competitive. She filmed me bowling without asking and said something about showing her followers how the date was going. She said it so quickly I wasn't even sure I heard it right. Her followers. Why were her followers involved? I brushed it off because I didn't want to seem weird. When we sat down to eat nachos, she pointed her camera at me again, but this time she didn't make it obvious. She held the phone low like she was texting, but then I saw the screen reflecting in the shiny lane floor. I noticed she took a photo of me laughing at something stupid I said. She didn't ask. She didn't warn me. She just did it. I asked if she got a good picture, and she laughed, but not in a kind way. She said she wasn't showing me because that ruins the fun. I didn't like the sound of that. I tried to ignore it, but then her phone pinged again, and she smiled like she just won something. She leaned back and said she's running a poll. I asked what poll. She said her followers wanted to help her decide if I was worth her time. She said it so casual, like I should be flattered strangers were allowed to judge me. I stared at her waiting for her to laugh because I hoped it was a joke. It wasn't. She kept checking the screen and updating me with the numbers. Like it was a game. Like I should care about these random people giving thumbs up or down. Every time she told me the vote count, my stomach dropped more. I felt stupid sitting there while dozens of invisible faces voted yes or no like I was a meal on a menu. I asked why she did that, and she shrugged, saying everyone does this. She said social media decides everything these days. She said it makes dating fun because you get audience interaction. I just blinked at her because that didn't sound like fun. That sounded like being humiliated in real time. My food tasted bad because I couldn't stop thinking about that poll. I didn't even know what picture she used. I didn't get to fix my hair or look decent. I didn't get the chance to say no. I didn't want people I'd known seeing my face and making jokes. I tried to keep calm, but inside I was boiling. She started giving commentary about the poll results. She said more people voted no, and that made her laugh like it was amazing entertainment. She even screenshotted it right in front of me. No shame. No pause. I asked if she could delete it, and she laughed at me. She acted like I was overreacting and said the votes were just opinions. She told me I should take it as motivation to be more interesting. I wanted to walk out right there, but my legs were heavy. I kept thinking I could still fix the date. Like I could impress her enough to prove those votes wrong, which is the worst part. Like I needed approval from strangers who didn't know me. I hated that I even cared. She bowled again, dropped another gutter ball, and didn't notice because she was glued to that pole. She stood right in my lane blocking me so I couldn't even play. She was typing something fast. Then she turned the screen so I could see. It was a story post. The picture of me eating nachos with a pole right under it. The caption said something like, should I stay or should I ditch him? The options were stay or leave. Leave was winning. That's when I snapped inside. Not in a loud way. Just as quiet switch flipping. I realized I wasn't on a real date. I was content. Background for her social life. A prop for engagement. My existence only mattered for votes. I stood up without saying anything. She barely looked up. I took off the bowling shoes. Put on my own. She finally asked where I was going like she actually cared now that the entertainment might stop. I told her to enjoy her poll. She frowned like she didn't understand why I wasn't playing along. Like she expected me to sit there until the strangers finished deciding my worth. I walked out fast. I didn't want to hear her calling after me or trying to film my exit. Outside I sat on a bench and just stared at the ground. My phone buzzed once. It was a message from her saying the vote said leave, so she guessed it worked out. No apology, no respect. She unmatched me before I could reply. I kept thinking about those followers, laughing at me, mocking me. I heard that picture over and over in my head. I didn't even know it existed until it was already out there. I never said it was okay to use me like that. That night, I decided I'd never go on another date with someone glued to their phone. If the first thing they care about is what strangers think, then I'm not interested. I'm not being rated again. Not by random phones. Not by people who don't know my name. Not by anyone who thinks a person is just a poll to vote on. I used to think the worst thing that could happen on a date was awkward silence or maybe spilling a drink on myself. I didn't think it would be someone basically using me as a backup plan. And I definitely didn't think I'd walk away feeling like I wasted hours of my life sitting across from someone who treated dating like a sport. I met Flo on an app where she looked normal. She had pictures at caves and some random travel shots. Nothing fancy. I thought she seemed grounded, which was what I wanted. We talked for about a week. Quick messages about random stuff like food and pets and dumb shows. She kept saying she liked guys who were real and not trying too hard. I thought, cool, that's basically me anyway. We planned to meet at this restaurant that was kind of trendy but not too expensive. I showed up a bit early and waited outside scrolling on my phone so I didn't look weird just standing around. When she walked up, she smiled fast, then switched to this blank look like seeing me in person was different than she read in chat. I tried not to overthink it. I said hi, and she said, yeah, let's go inside like I was already annoying her. We sat down at a little table near the window. She pulled out her phone immediately, not to check a message or anything. She turned it upside down and slid it next to her plate like she was guarding it. I didn't think much at first. Maybe she had something personal going on. I asked her how her day was. She gave me one-word answers. Fine. Long. Work. She'd asked nothing back. The waiter came and she didn't even look at him when she ordered water. She kept glancing down at the phone like she was checking if it buzzed even though the screen stayed black. I tried to ask about the travel pics she posted. She said those trips were boring and she hated the people she went with. I asked if she had any hobbies. She rolled her eyes and said she didn't like labels or putting life into boxes, which made zero sense. Every few minutes, she leaned slightly away from me and opened her phone under the table like a kid hiding secrets. Then she'd laugh quietly to herself like she was reading something funny. I ignored it for a bit because I was trying to be chill, but it became impossible to ignore. She wasn't even trying to hide she didn't care about the date. She barely looked at the menu. She said she didn't want to eat too much because she had other plans later. I thought maybe she had somewhere to be. I asked if she needed to leave soon. She smiled for the first time, but not a nice smile. More like a smirk. She said no and just seeing how this goes. Again. Made zero sense. Food arrived. She picked at hers like she didn't want to get any crumbs on her lips. She checked her phone again, but this time she turned it slightly so I wouldn't see the screen. I saw just enough to notice another guy's name pop up. I pretended to look away like I didn't see anything. I kept talking even though she barely reacted. I was basically talking to fill the dead air. She didn't care what I was saying. She kept tapping her fingers like she was impatient. Then she suddenly got a message that actually made her light up. She typed something quick and put the phone down again upside down. That was when she admitted what she was doing. She casually said she was texting two other guys who were literally nearby. She said they were waiting close in case I turned out boring. She said it like she was telling me the weather. Like it was normal to have two backup dudes lurking around waiting for their chance. She even bragged and said she was good at multitasking because she liked options. I just sat there staring at her. Not angry yet because I was too surprised. I asked if she was serious. She nodded like, yeah, obviously. Then she said dating is like shopping and she likes to browse before choosing something. She looked at me like I was lucky to be part of her selection process. My food suddenly tasted gross. I didn't want to eat another bite. I wanted to leave, but I didn't want to make a scene. Meanwhile, she was still texting under the table and smiling at her screen like I was invisible. I asked why she didn't just cancel if she wasn't interested. She said she didn't know yet. She said sometimes guys surprise her. Maybe it'd suddenly be cool. She said that right to my face, like I wasn't already a person. I was just a placeholder. The worst part was her confidence. She genuinely thought this was normal. She started talking about how the guys waiting were different styles and she liked testing her choices in one night. I realized I was part of some weird competition in her head. I finally decided to leave. I told the waiter I'd pay for my part and stood up. Chloe didn't even look up from her phone. She waved her hand a little like bye. She didn't thank me or pretend to care. Outside the restaurant, I saw two guys sitting on a bench near the door, both on their phones, both looking up every time the door opened. I recognized one of their faces from her phone earlier. The message preview I read had his name. They both looked at me like maybe I was one of them. Maybe they thought I was waiting for my turn too. She walked out a minute later, straight to the better-looking guy. She hugged him like he was the one she really wanted, and they walked back in like she was resetting her date. The second guy on the bench looked confused like he expected her to pick him instead. I headed home annoyed and confused why I even bothered giving her a chance. I kept thinking how weird dating has become. People treating each other like products, not even pretending to care about basic respect. The next day, she unmatched me like I never existed, which I kind of expected. She probably moved on to the next lineup. I guess I dodged something, but it's still stuck in my head that she had two backups literally waiting outside while I sat there trying to be a decent person. Now, whenever someone hides their phone too much on a date, my brain jumps back to that night. I keep thinking, are they texting someone else right now, waiting to replace me mid-meal? It ruined the chill vibe I used to have meeting new people. It wasn't the most dramatic story ever, but it messed with my head in a strange way. I didn't like being a spare option. Nobody wants to be background noise in someone else's night, and Chloe made sure I knew exactly where I ranked. I thought this date would be calm because Holly sounded relaxed on the app. She messaged like someone who did not overthink everything. She said she wanted something real, something different. And I thought, cool, maybe we can have a normal night for once. I met her outside a pizza place near the cinema. Kind of a basic spot, but easygoing. The street was busy with people heading to films and shops still open. I was early again because I always worry about timing. She showed up wearing this big jacket and messy hair like she just woke up but still confident. She smiles and says sorry for being late because her ex took too long talking when she left his place. I paused. I thought she meant something else, maybe like a joke. She did not seem bothered though, so I tried not to make a face. We walked in and sat down and ordered, and I tried to reset my mind. Maybe they are just friends now. Maybe it is not that deep. But straight away she starts talking about him. She says he always takes her to nicer places than this, but she likes pizza, so it's okay. She says he would get jealous if he knew she was here. She says he would probably call her later like he always does. I am staring at the menu trying to pretend I am not hearing that every sentence includes the X. I ask questions about her work to move away from that topic, but every answer circles back to him. She says he used to drive her to work every day. He used to pay for her nails. He used to buy her snacks. He used to do this and that. Every sentence is he used to. Then she looks at me dead serious and says I remind her of him, but not as confident. She says he has this loud energy she loves. I sit there thinking this is probably a big red flag, but I am already here, so I might as well survive the night. The pizza comes, and she barely touches hers. She is scrolling through her messages. She keeps giggling at something, and I already know it's him. She keeps comparing everything. My clothes compared to his. My phone compared to his. My hair compared to his. She says he looks like a model when he gets a trim. She says I have a cool face, but he is more handsome because girls stare at him everywhere he goes. She talks like I am applying to replace him and failing the test. I ask how long ago they broke up. She says they didn't exactly break up. She says they are on a break, but it is complicated. She says she still sleeps at his place because rent is cheaper and he lets her stay since he still likes her. She says all she has to do is give him attention, sometimes like cuddles, and he won't complain. She laughs, saying that saves her like $800 a month, so she feels smart. I feel like I am losing my mind hearing this, but she keeps going. She tells me she keeps her stuff in his bedroom. She tells me she still goes shopping with his mom. She tells me he even asked if she wanted to get back together recently, and she said maybe later if she gets bored. She says she wants to see what is out there first. She looks at me like I am part of that experiment. She asks what I think of relationships. I say I want someone who actually wants me. She says that's cute, but love does not pay bills. She says real life means using opportunities. She says if her ex gives her a roof, then why leave? She says if a new guy can top that, then maybe she will upgrade. She literally says upgrade like she is talking about a phone contract. I try to steer the date into a normal conversation, but every road leads back to the ex. She tells me stories of them traveling and partying and fighting, then making up. She says he once broke his phone trying to call her when she ignored him. She smiles like that is romantic. She says he always tries to impress her. She is saying all this to me while sitting across from me on a date. It feels unreal. She says I seem chill and maybe she could keep me around because I do not stress her out like he does. She says having options is important. She says she would see me once or twice a week. If it works out but weekends, she will definitely stay with him because his apartment is nicer. She says I should not get jealous because that would ruin everything. She talks like I should be grateful. She even tells me if I play my cards right, maybe she could invite me over one day and her ex would not mind as long as I act like a friend. I sit there questioning why I am even here. I go to pay and she does not even look at the bill. She says her ex never lets her pay and looks disappointed that I grabbed it first. She says if I want to impress her, I should not let her touch her wallet. I am feeling like I just paid to be insulted for an hour. We walk outside and she asks what we are doing next. I say I have to get home early because of work. She says work is boring and people should live more freely like her and her ex. She then asks if I can walk her back because she is actually heading to his place. She says she promised she would come back and watch a show with him. She says he gets upset if she spends too long out, and she says it like she loves that attention. I tell her I am going the other way. She shrugs and says okay, but I should text her later so she knows if I can handle this situation. She says some guys get too emotional and ruin everything, but I seem like I could handle it if I try. Then she waves and rushes off because he just texted her asking where she is. She smiles like she won a prize. I watch her hurry back to him like she never left. I walk to the bus stop thinking she never wanted anyone new. She wanted a spare just in case her original plan fails. I was not a date, I was a backup. And that is the night I learned some people are only single online. I met Leah at a small burger place that everyone kept posting on social media. Neon signs inside, the kind of place where you have to order through a tablet and then wait while loud music plays. I was already kind of nervous walking in because I did not know what to expect. We matched only 2 days before. She looked pretty in her pictures. She had this confident smile like she always got what she wanted. I thought maybe she would be chill and funny. Something normal for once. The date started okay. She gave me a hug and said she liked my jacket. I thought that was a good sign. We ordered food and sat down in the corner where it was slightly quieter. She told me she liked trying new places every week and that she had a busy social life. She kept saying she refused to be bored. I laughed and said I try to go out too, but I prefer calm stuff sometimes. She smirked like that was weak energy. She wasted no time asking me about my job. Not in a curious way. More like she wanted stats. She asked how much I earn. I had that feeling again like this was becoming a job interview instead of a date. I tried to change the topic to hobbies. She said hobbies are cool, but money is what makes life fun. She said if you cannot afford fun, then what is the point of dating? Then she said something that made me almost choke on my drink. She told me she does not believe in just dating one guy. She said she dates 5 men at once. One for each weekday. Monday guy takes her dinner. Tuesday guy pays for beauty stuff. Wednesday guy buys clothes. Thursday guy handles rando shopping. Friday guy pays for nights out. She said weekends are her time off to rest or party with her girls. I sat there staring at her like, is she joking? But she was dead serious. She even had names for them. She called them Monday Man and Tuesday Sponsor and stuff like that. She laughed like it was cute. She said all 5 think they are the only one she sees. She said if any find out about each other, she just replaces them. She said men are easy to find but hard to keep because most cannot afford her lifestyle. She said if she finds someone who can cover all 7 days, then maybe she would think about being serious. My stomach dropped because I realized she was checking if I had the money to join the rotation. I asked her why she did not just work more hours or find someone who matches her vibe honestly. She said she does not need to because she knows her worth and this is how she wins. She said men know her because she deserves good things for simply being her. She talked like she was royalty and the world was a shop waiting for her to pick things. She got comfortable and started going deeper into her system. She said Monday Man has no idea she sees anyone else. She said he gets jealous easily, so she lies to keep him calm. She said Tuesday Sponsor is older and pays fast because he gets scared she will leave. She said Wednesday guy is boring but useful because he never asks questions. She said Thursday one is fun but broke, so she is planning to replace him soon. Friday guy is the one she actually likes, but he does not know how much she uses the others for money. I felt sick listening to her. It was like she trained herself to use people and feel nothing. She took my phone and asked me what day I would want to be. She said it looked like maybe a Wednesday or a Thursday. She said if I cannot handle paying weekly, then maybe every 2 weeks could work until I level up. She said if I treated her right, she might even let me have Saturday sometime. She was planning my rolling a schedule. The worst part was how casual she was about it. She was eating fries like she was telling me about her favorite tube show. She did not care at all if she sounded wrong. She said love is just a bonus, and the real gold is living good. She said everything is expensive, and she refuses to be average. She said she would never allow a man to drag her down, and if that means juggling 5 wallets, then she will. I started feeling trapped sitting across from her. I could not unhear any of it. She asked if I had a car. I said yes. She smiled like that was important to her. She asked if I could drive her home after because she hates public transport. She said she would let me hold her hand on the way to make it look real if someone sees us. She kept acting like this was some business deal with bonuses. I told her I needed to go toilet just to breathe. I stood in the bathroom staring at myself in the mirror, wondering how she became like that. How she sees people like tools. I did not want to go back, but my jacket and phone were still there, so I had to. When I sat back down, she was laughing at something on her phone. She said Friday guy sent her money out of nowhere because she posted a picture looking cute. She called him predictable. She did not even respond to him. She put the phone away like nothing happened and asked if I was ready for dessert. She did not touch her wallet once. She expected me to cover everything because I was the date, like I had to earn my place. I said I had to go home because something came up. She rolled her eyes and said I should at least pay the bill first. I paid it. It felt like I was paying to leave. She said I should message her later so she can decide what day I could be. She literally said decide. She did not even ask if I wanted to. She assumed I would be grateful to join the lineup. I walked her outside, but I refused to drive her home. She looked offended like I broke a rule. She said she hoped I knew what I just lost. She said someone else will take the spot fast because she is never alone. Then she waved like she was done with me. She did not look back. She just walked off like she already moved on to the next guy. I stood there feeling weird because I had never met someone who saw dating like a full weekly job. I blocked her number and the app as soon as I got home. I started thinking how many people are getting played at the same time without knowing. Everyone thinks they are special, but some people are running a whole schedule behind your back. That was my night as a temporary Wednesday guy. I always thought dating apps were already weird enough, but this one went to a different level. The whole thing started on a random Sunday night when I was sitting on my bed scrolling with no goal at all. I matched with this girl called Lucy. Her bio said something like loving peaceful energy and wanting someone calm but fun. Her pictures looked normal. Nothing crazy. She had a nice smile and looked like someone who would spend weekends watching shows instead of clubbing every night. I thought, okay, maybe this one is normal at least. We talked for like 2 days. Nothing deep. Random jokes. She was the one who suggested we should meet. She said she wanted to go for a walk near the big shopping center with the big fountains outside. I said cool because that is one of my favorite spots. Cheap, calm, and no pressure like sitting in a restaurant. So I am thinking this might be all right. The day comes. I get there a little early because I hate rushing. The weather is decent. Not hot, not freezing. A good day to just be out. I am standing near the fountain watching kids run around and hoping this is not another failed meetup. I see Lucy walking toward me. She looks exactly like her pictures, which already felt like a win. She waves with a big smile, and I feel the date is starting okay. We start walking, and she is talking a lot. Fast. She is telling me about how she used to come here all the time with her friends, and how she loves iced coffees and all that. I just listen trying to keep up. Then she suddenly asked if I can take a picture of her. I am like, sure, whatever. She stands by the fountain and does a pose like she is on some fashion ad. I take a couple photos. She does not even check them. She just grabs her phone and takes more selfies nonstop. The first weird thing happens when she asks if she can take a picture with me. I am not against it, but we literally met like 5 minutes ago. But I still do it because I am trying to be nice. She gets really close and holds my arm and we smile. Then she takes another one where she is leaning into me like we've been together for a year. I do not say anything because I think maybe she just likes photos. We walk to get drinks. We sit on a bench. She is glued to her phone posting those pictures straight away. I am looking around thinking, okay, maybe she is excited or something. Then I hear it. She says her ex is going to be so mad when he sees these. She says she cannot wait for him to freak out. My brain stops right there. I ask why her ex would care. She casually says she only matched with me to make him jealous. I swear I felt something drop inside me. She says they just broke up like 3 days ago and that she wants to prove she can replace him fast. She says I look like someone her ex would hate because I look like the opposite of him. I do not even know what that means. I feel my mood crash, but I do not want to cause a scene. I say that is not cool because I thought we matched to get to know each other. She looks confused like she does not get why that is a problem. She says it is not a big deal because I still get a date out of it. She keeps refreshing her notifications, waiting for someone specific to view her story. She keeps asking if she should caption the pictures, something like out with a new guy. That makes me feel like a prop. Like I am not even a person, just something she can use for a reaction. She asks me to put my arm around her again so she can get a photo from a better angle. She says she wants one where I look like I am adoring her. I start feeling uncomfortable. This is not a date. This is a publicity stunt. She asked if we can walk past a certain cafe because her ex goes there sometimes and she wants him to see us together. She literally plans the route like she is stalking a target. She keeps fixing her hair, making sure she looks perfect. She asked me to look at her like I am crazy for her. She's trying to build this whole fake story in pictures. We get near the cafe, and I already want to go home. She is scanning every face like she is on a mission. Then she sees him. I can tell by how her mood changes. She grabs my hand and squeezes tight, driving me faster. She stands really close to me and tilts her head on my shoulder like we are a couple. She keeps smiling like she won the lottery. Her ex walks past and looks confused and annoyed. Lucy looks satisfied like she just scored some massive victory. Then she lets go of my hand and sighs like job done. She barely looks at me after that. We sit on a bench again, and she starts typing something long on her phone, probably updating him with the drama. I sit there wondering why I did not leave earlier. She turns to me and says thanks like I did her a favor. She says she needed a guy who looked decent enough to make her ex think she moved on. She says she might delete me later, but she is grateful for today, like I am some rented actor she hired. I tell her I am leaving because this is not what I came for. She shrugs like she does not care. She asked if I can send her the photos first. I say no. She rolls her eyes and says she already posted enough anyway. I start walking away. She does not even say bye. She just goes straight back to her phone. I go home and think about how weird the whole thing was. I check the app and she unmatched me already. Like I was never a person to her. I was just a tool to mess with someone else's head. And I keep thinking how many other guys she might do that to and feel zero guilt. That is the day I realized some people go on dates not because they like you, but because they want to hurt someone else. I was never the guy she wanted. I was the guy she wanted to use. I swear I never thought I would end up in a situation like this. I used to think the worst thing that could happen on a date was awkward silence or maybe someone who chews too loud. But this one still makes me annoyed every time I think about it. I had been on this app for a while and I told myself I would give it another chance because why not? I matched with this girl called Chloe. Her pictures looked normal enough. She had this big smile and looked like she was always on holiday. She messaged first, which I thought was cool. We talked for a few days. She kept posting selfies on her story with fancy handbags and shoes, and I thought maybe she just likes that style. Not really my thing, but whatever. She picked the place. This new trendy restaurant everyone kept posting online. I looked at the menu beforehand and nearly closed the page. The prices were mad. Like they wanted $25 for fries, and they were not even special fries, just fries. But I did not want to look cheap. So I told myself I could handle one night. I get there early because I hate making someone wait. The place is dark and loud, and every table is full of people who look like their parents own banks. I sit there eye-reading the menu again, like maybe if I stare long enough the prices might drop. She comes in like she owns the building, head high. Perfume I could smell from across the room. She sits down and the first thing I notice is her eyes go straight to my outfit. I was wearing my best shirt, but it clearly did not impress her. She says she is starving and waves at the waiter before we even say hello properly. I try to relax. Maybe she's hungry and is making her act like this. The waiter comes and she orders the most expensive thing on the menu like she is taking off a goal. And she orders a drink that costs more than my monthly gym membership. I order something simple because my card would probably explode if I tried something else. Then she asks the worst question ever. She wants to know how much I earn, like not even trying to hide it. I kind of laugh thinking she is joking, but she stares waiting for the answer. I tell her it is kind of personal. She rolls her eyes like I am annoying her. She starts saying that she refuses to date anyone who cannot afford designer things. She says a man should be able to pay for his woman without stressing. She says her ex would buy her new shoes every week and take her to Dubai when she was sad. She says she only dates guys with good money and she does not want to waste her time. I just sit there thinking what is happening. It is like an interview for a job I never applied for. I start feeling stupid for even coming. But I try to keep conversation going because food is already ordered and I am not trying to leave hungry. She starts showing me pictures of bags that cost like $5,000. She calls them investments. She asks which one I would buy her one day. I say I do not know because I am wondering how I even pay for dinner tonight. She gets bored of the conversation and picks up her phone. She is on it the whole time, scrolling through online stores and occasionally showing me something saying she needs it. She keeps saying I am quiet, like I am the one being weird. Then she says something that really got me. She says life is too short to be average. She says average money is embarrassing. She says a person like her deserves a man who can handle her lifestyle. She says I look like I live somewhere cheap. She does not even know where I live. She says I've probably never been on a yacht. I tell her I prefer holidays that do not need a boat. She ignores it. When the food arrives, she complains that her steak is not cooked how she wanted, even though she barely looked up from her phone to order. She sends it back. She asks for another drink. She tells me she gets guys to buy her things all the time. She says some have gifted her bracelets and necklaces, and once a guy paid her rent for 3 months. I start thinking she is using people and feels proud of it. She calls men cheap if they say no to paying. She calls them weak. She says she wants someone who can spoil her like a princess. She says if I cannot do that, then what is the point? I am counting minutes. I am literally timing how long until this is over. I finish fast because I just want out. Then the bill comes and looks like a car payment. I already knew this was coming, but seeing the number hurt. She picks up her phone like she never intended to even pretend she might pay. I pay. Inside my chest, it feels like a robbery. She looks at the waiter and says thanks like she did something. We walk outside and she asks where I parked. I say I took the train. She laughs. She actually laughs like that is the funniest thing ever. She says real men drive. She says I need to level up. She then says she will get an Uber and I can go catch my train. No goodbye. No thanks for dinner. Nothing. She just leaves. I stand there watching her walk away and I feel stupid but also relieved. I read everything afterwards and realized she was dropping hints all along. The endless designer selfies. The bragging. The judgment. I ignored it because I just wanted a normal date. But that was not normal. That was auditioning to be someone's wallet. And the worst part, later that night she messages me saying she is free again next week. She says I should book a nicer place because she wants to be impressed. I block her without a word, because I am not doing that twice.